Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here on Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. Happy Wednesday. Let's get over the hump here together. But I want to start here this hour with a look at Sky Fox. We have a developing story taking place right now. We have a missing woman, and this is Sky Fox over Lake Houston here. And according to investigators, a woman fell off of a jet ski yesterday, and now this is the search now continuing. This is the bottom of our chopper. So we're going to come back to the studio here. But that is the breaking news. We have the search for a missing woman who fell off a jet ski there in Lake Houston. We continue to follow this here. Once we get some more details, maybe even another shot of the chopper to understand what's going on, we'll get to that. All right. Of course, you guys want to know about the forecast. I know I certainly do. Let's bring in my right-hand man, meteorologist John Dawson. What's happening, bud?
You know what? Just here on a Wednesday, just kind of trying to cruise it on. I'm off on Thursday, Friday, so this is really. I'm just right on the. I'm on the cusp of my weekend, and yeah, I'm here. I'm
so you're
ready.
On cruise control.
Like, I wasn't going to go as far to say I was on cruise control. I'm not going to argue with that statement, but again, I can smell the weekend over baby. Here in this chair. But yeah, we're I know not everybody's on the weekend yet. No. Hey, but tomorrow's Juneteenth, so I do think some folks are going to be off of work tomorrow, and maybe they've got some plans outdoors.
Lots of parades, and stuff, concerts,
a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. So let's sort of dive into it all, and we'll sort of see what we've got happening. First of all, right now it's very much a June afternoon outside. Partly cloudy skies, temperatures about 91 degrees. That's what the thermometers say. Your body feels like 100 when you walk out because those dew points are very rich, very high in the mid 70s. That wind will help you a little bit. That southeast wind around 14 miles an hour. That's going to help you. If you get into some shade, it's going to help you. Otherwise, it's plenty heat, plenty hot out there. So here's some other spots around town on the feels like temperature. Tomball 110 on the heat index values. That's the kind of you need to make sure that you're taking precaution. You need to take action to make sure that you're staying safe. So that means taking extra breaks. It means that you're hydrating and that you're, again, maybe even seeking some air conditioning occasionally to kind of get a break from some of that. Fox Red Storm Seeker radar, you can see a couple little blips here. We're going to look at that in just a moment. But here's again what the thermometers are reading across the area. 92 degrees up in Huntsville, 91 in Angleton. And I'll be honest, that tomball, now that I look at that a little bit closer, I'm not sure that's actually accurate. We're going to have to check with the National Weather Service folks on their thermometer there in Tomball. That doesn't make sense that area would be 9 or 10 degrees warmer. So we're going to do a take back on that one. I'm not sure that's exactly what we're looking at, but I do want to. I know. I was just going to say we're not going to be able to kind of go with that one. I am going to kind of look around and see these little storms. You got to look for them. That's what we're looking at today. Kind of rolling through Brazoria County and up and through Wharton. We see these little bitty blips. So most of us aren't even aware that there's any kind of rain happening. I'm going to have to slide all the way over to Winnie in order to find some other thunderstorms. Oh, I look a little something in the bay there. So if you got any friends out on the water there in Galveston Bay, a little bit of activity as well. So overall, though, that's the kind of activity that we're looking for the rest of today. I want to slip back out to the tropics here and talk a little bit about what's happening in the Eastern Pacific. So make sure I'm crystal clear. This is not happening in the Atlantic, not expecting this hurricane to impact our weather. You know, sometimes those systems over there can have slight impacts on our weather, but not even expecting that right now. Just recently, Eric has been upgraded to a Category 2 hurricane. This storm is undergoing some rapid intensification, unfortunately at an awful time because it is about to make a landfall into the west coast of Mexico there. So current wind speeds as of the 1 p.m. update have it at 100 miles an hour. That's a Category 2 hurricane. It is expected to continue to strengthen and even reach a major hurricane status, a Category 3 hurricane before landfall tomorrow morning. So the folks along the west coast of Mexico there scrambling a little bit because this system just did not allow a lot of extra time to prepare for this. So they're getting ready quickly, and we'll see how that's going to happen. Right now, it looks like it's just a little down the coast from Acapulco is where this is going to be making its landfall. So we'll be thinking about those folks over the next, again, 12 to 24 hours, this system begins to make its landfall. Back here in Houston, as far as the temperatures are concerned, we're going to be climbing those back up into the 93 or 94 degree range. We do have those isolated chances for some storms. You'll see that on the Futurecast here, just that little blip real quick here or there, and then very mild, muggy overnights. Maybe not even getting out of the 80 degrees, getting lower than 80 degrees. Hopefully we can get down to the upper 70s, but some of us will be stuck in the 80s. And then you'll see this is a little bit more activity on the radar for tomorrow afternoon than what we're seeing this afternoon. So just kind of put that into your plans. I'm not telling you that you need to cancel anything for tomorrow that's outdoors, but you just need to know that, yes, a little bit of a downpour, probably even a little thunder and lightning is something that will be around. Maybe not all of us seeing that, but certainly a handful of us, and some of us are going to be able to see those showers and storms as they're kind of rolling on through. And Anthony, I know you've been waiting for this. The official start to summer. It's been feeling like summer. But the official start to summer is this Friday evening when we can then say summer has arrived, and the first weekend of summer, right? And even though, yeah, it's certainly been feeling that way.
Dude, is this normal though? Like these showers? Like I feel like we've been getting some decent showers the last 2 weeks or so. Is that kind of typical for June?
What's happening today is typical.
Okay.
The 20 to 30% chance, that's very normal for June. Okay. But you're right. The last 7 to 10 days when we've had afternoons of 3, 4, 5 inches of rain across there, that's not so normal. And they repeatedly have that. We've certainly had a lot more rain this June in the last week pattern. And then we've kind of switched back a little bit more normal. And then when we get back into Monday and Tuesday, that's when we're kind of leaving that typical June pattern again.
Love that. JD, okay. You're the man. Enjoy your days off.
I'm going to see what I can do there. I'm going to see what I can do. That's for sure.
Right. Appreciate you as always, man. All right. Let's go to some breaking news now. We got the Federal Reserve making an announcement here. And here's a look at the stock market, the New York Stock Exchange. They're going to be leaving the rates unchanged. Again, breaking news here. They are predicting about 2 cuts this year, but the breaking news is going to leave the interest rates the same. That's coming from the federal chair, Jerome Powell. Now, this has been something that President Trump has wanted more movement on. He wanted some more cuts, but right now they're going to stay the same again. but they are saying there could be 2 cuts here throughout the year. But as you can see, the New York Stock Exchange responding right now as you take a quick look at that. All right, as we get back here in studio, also happening on Capitol Hill here today. So there were allegations essentially saying that those around former President Joe Biden were essentially trying to cover up his cognitive decline. And on Capitol Hill here today, there's a hearing taking place. And then next week, House Republicans plan to hold a similar hearing. So Texas Senator John Cornyn has part of today's proceedings. Take a listen.
Good morning. I want to thank Chairman Grassley for convening this hearing and my colleague, Senator Schmidt from Missouri, for co-chairing this with me as we examine the constitutional crisis posed by the cover-up of President Biden's cognitive decline. The U.S. Constitution provides, as we all know, for 3 co-equal branches. Today, we're concerned about the chief executive, the President of the United States. As we know, the chief executive, the head of the executive branch, enforces the laws, appoints high-ranking officials, serves as commander-in-chief of our armed forces, can issue pardons, and can veto and advocate for legislation. But what are we to do when the president is incapable of performing these duties? Last June, the American public saw with their own eyes what many knew to be true, but would not dare to admit publicly. Our sitting commander-in-chief was suffering from severe cognitive decline, as evident by this video, which I will now show.
For what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate.
As we now know, there was a conspiracy to hide the president's true condition by his family, by his staff, by the media, and many elected officials. Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, who co-authored a book entitled Original Sin. That book amounted to a mea culpa by the mainstream media, but they summed up the problem when they wrote this. Quote, what the world saw at Joe Biden's one and only 2024 debate was not an anomaly. It was not a cold. It was not someone who was under or over prepared. It was not someone who was just a little tired. It was the natural result of an 81-year-old man whose capabilities had been diminishing for years. Biden, his family, and his team let their self-interest and their fear of another Trump term justify an attempt to put an at times addled old man in the Oval Office for 4 more years. So make no mistake about it, this was a constitutional crisis, bigger than President Biden, bigger than any single election, and one that cannot be absolved by the collective apology of the press and an election where the president's party lost. Current events, such as we are experiencing today in the Middle East, are a prime example of why we need a president with his full cognitive abilities, making important decisions involving war and peace. We should know, but we don't yet know, precisely what should happen when a president is unable to perform his or her constitutional duties. And that's the purpose of today's hearing. There are many unanswered questions from this scandal, questions that the authors of Original Sin failed to address in their book, questions that are foundational to the proper functioning of our government. We will address those here and shine a light on exactly what went on in the White House during the Biden presidency. We simply cannot ignore what transpired because President Biden is no longer in office. With a compromised president, our government's very legitimacy and capacity to function was undermined. The American people paid a price, from President Biden's handling of the border crisis to the disastrous events we saw unfold in Afghanistan. It's absolutely imperative that Congress grapple with these difficult questions, no matter how much our Democratic colleagues would like to simply sweep it under the rug. We need to know who was in charge during the last months of the Biden administration. Was it his wife, his chief of staff, nameless others? None of these people were elected by the American people, nor were they authorized by the Constitution and laws of the United States to carry out the duties of the President of the United States. The 25th Amendment provides a roadmap for succession in instances of presidential incapacity. Section 4 gives the Vice President and a majority of the President's cabinet the authority to challenge the President's ability to carry out the functions of his office, subject to a vote in Congress. But in this instance, the Vice President and the cabinet, the very ones authorized by the 25th Amendment to question the President's capacity, they did nothing. Are there penalties when the when the cabinet and the Vice President refuse to carry out their duties under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment? Should there be more accountability? The framers of this amendment acknowledge that the execution of that amendment would depend on the good faith of the cabinet and the Vice President. But Biden's cabinet and the Vice President did not act in good faith. They acted in their political and personal self-interest. This is the great paradox of self-government. Many of the rules, traditions, and institutions that sustain our republic are self-enforcing. The health and legitimacy of our democratic republic rests on the character of the men and women who serve in government. As a government, it is imperative that we have clear contingency plans when emergency strikes. And yes, it is an emergency when we have a sitting president who's unable to discharge the duties of that office. The concerns raised by this incident stretch far beyond the bounds of partisan politics. I will note that few of my Democratic colleagues are here today. Thank you to Senator Welch from Vermont for being here, leaving us with no other option than to take the boycotting of this hearing as an admission of guilt for their role in this crisis. We must not turn away from the search for answers, and it is not an overstatement to say that the future of our country could one day hinge on how we choose to act or not act on this very issue.
All right, as you imagine, Democrats will say something contrary to what Senator Cornyn has to say, but as of right now, I want to go to President Trump in the Oval Office. Take a listen to what he's discussing.
I would say right now, Israel, from the standpoint of winning a war, is doing pretty well. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, in your meeting today with the Chief of Staff of the Pakistani Army, did you talk about Iran? Did that come up? Is there anything you can share from that meeting?
Yeah, well, they know Iran very well, better than most. And they're not happy about anything. It's not that they're bad with Israel. They know them both, actually, but they probably, maybe they know Iran better. But they see what's going on, and he agreed with me. The reason I had him here, I wanted to thank him for not going into the war, just ending the war. And I want to thank, as you know, Prime Minister Modi just left, just a little while ago, just left. And we're working a trade deal with India. We're working a trade deal with Pakistan. And they were both here. But I was with Modi a few weeks ago. He was here, actually. But now we speak to him. And I'm so happy. There was a deal that two smart people Plus, you know, they have people on their staff too, but two very smart people decided not to keep going with that war. That could have been a nuclear war. Those are two nuclear powers, big ones, big nuclear powers, and they decided not. So I was honored to meet him today.
And if I can, speak with sir, and for anyone who may want to answer, how has the travel bans from certain countries affected fans maybe coming in for the games, or is that not a consideration?
Johnny,
at all?
go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not a concern for us. For the games now in the Club World Cup, everything has been done in a very smooth way. We have an excellent collaboration, of course, with the president, but with the task force in particular. For next year, the World Cup, we have one more year to work, and the learnings that we have this year with the Club World Cup, which is historic. I say this to all the Americans because it's the first ever Club World Cup, and it's played in the United States of America. So the learnings we'll have for this will apply them next year.
And they're largely sold out, so
But
I don't know.
everything
I don't think he's too worried about the travel ban. He doesn't know what the travel ban is, I don't think. Johnny, tell me what the travel ban is. He doesn't know what it is. He's largely sold out. Like tonight is totally. I've had friends, they heard about this meeting. They said, can you give me tickets? I don't know if I can get tickets. He won't give them to me.
We can speak
Maybe
about it.
John will give them to me. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, two questions, if I could. One about Iran and then one domestically. With Iran, what's your message to Americans both here and abroad who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time. And I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, you know. It's a lot of water over the dam. But, you know, it's very, I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much devastation. And they'd use it. You know, I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it. It's very simple as far as I'm concerned. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
And then domestically, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley came out this week as the lead sponsor of the bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. It stands out because he's a Republican. There's still 20 states that have it at $7.25. Do you support the legislation or the idea?
Well, I haven't seen it. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a very good friend of mine. That's interesting that Josh did that. I'm going to have to think about that one. Some people agree with it, some people don't. You know, some people say it really turns away business. Restaurants close, and a lot of things happen. Other people agree. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a good guy.
Mr. President, for the Iran, the possibility of an Iran deal, is the destruction or the dismantling of the Fordow nuclear enrichment center, is that a prerequisite for a deal? Is that a red line for you?
No, it's just something that people talk about having. We're the only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all. Yeah, we have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, you know, nobody's able to see them stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight. You know, you can be stealth, you'll never lose, right? But these are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world. By far, nobody close, and I mean, certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry, so we'll see what happens. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision.
Mr. President, you talked earlier today about having daily conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah.
How have those conversations weighed on you in terms of getting more involved? He's been lobbying for the U.S. to get more involved. Has that had an impact in kind of your evolution, sir?
Look, we talk, and I'd like to see everything done. I would have preferred having just an agreement, a strong agreement, you know, verifiable agreement. But it was such a shame. They were so close. You know, Iran was very close to signing what would have been a very good agreement for them. And maybe that could still happen, I guess. You know, they do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement, but it's very late.
Is it enough of a statement to hold off getting involved?
We're going to see what happens. Look, we're going to see what happens. Ending it as soon as you can. would be good.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your
Yeah,
eyes.
I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. You know, they're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson Senator Ted Cruz interview? It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me, but nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if Ted, I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let that happen.
Mr. President, on the southern border,
you had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron of France the other day at the G7,
No,
it sounded like.
he's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not. We're not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is. No nuclear weapon.
Mr. President,
So I thought it was a very badly worded statement by him, and obviously I let him know that.
on the southern border, you've had record low numbers for the month of May, 95 apprehensions, 0 releases, compared to that of the previous administration exactly a year ago, more than 60,000 releases. What do you attribute that success to?
I like you. Who are you with?
Turning Point USA, sir.
Well, they're very good. Turning Point. Charlie, very good. That's what I call a good question, fellas. 1 out of 10, John. 1 out of 10, but that's a really good question. No, we had record good numbers on the border. And people are coming in, but they have to come in legally. Like some of these guys behind me, they have to come in legally. And if they come in legally, we want them. They have to say they love America, they love our country. And if they can't say that, we don't want them. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, you just heard from President Donald Trump in the Oval Office there. Now, he was surrounded actually by the FIFA president, that's Gianni Infantino. Right now, if you're not familiar, the FIFA World Club Cup is happening right now. So that is why Juventus, you saw some of the players behind him there. They're an Italian club, but they're playing in that World Cup Club tournament that's going on right now. Many of the games taking place here in the States. So that's why they were in the Oval Office. But you heard the president take questions there from the reporters. Obviously, the big topic of discussion, Iran and Israel. That constant back and forth right now. So you heard his statements on that and a number of other issues. Certainly that'll dominate the news cycle here for quite some time. But let's go to another story we have here. Fort Bend County Judge KP George had a press conference today. But this one, he was addressing politics because he's changing parties from Democrat to Republican.
Country as an adult. And I am not born and raised neither Republican nor Democrat. And I choose a side, and it turned out to be the wrong place, and I'm fixing it. And that's what I'm doing today, and I want you to know that. As a Republican, I will continue to serve Fort Bend County with integrity, vision, and unwavering commitment to do what is right. And now, also I wanted to address something that many of you have seen and felt firsthand. The weaponization of government by radical Democrat right here in our county, Fort Bend County. Radicals like our Fort Bend County District Attorney, who has been brought and paid by the notorious George Soros, who funded the campaign. When Fort Bend County District Attorney and his fellow liberal elites realized I wasn't going to fall in line with their increasingly radical agenda, this is the solution they found: kick me out of there. And weaponizing, they have made it very clear. It wasn't about justice for me or the residents of Fort Bend County. It is about power. And I was even offered the entire charges against me would all go away if I resign and go. And that's a shame, really, for the people who are seeking justice in Fort Bend County. And I just wanted to share this very clearly. That is not my way, and that is not the Republican way. That is not the Fort Bend County way. And as you all know that, we just finished with an election, and they went after President Trump, and if they can come after me and people like me, and every citizen in Fort Bend County should be scared. And there are numerous examples I could talk to you in due time later. And that's why I just wanted to clearly state here, and I just wanted to let you know that, and let the media, let our residents know that I am not backing down, and I will not, because I haven't done anything wrong. Like President Trump, I will stand up and fight against the radical leftists who seek to tear down the values we hold very close to our heart, and in our nation, and in our state, and right here in Fort Bend County. Look into the future. This move actually doesn't just affect me and my family. And I am so happy to announce you here that it will also turn Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court 3-2 to Republican majority. And I'm proud to stand along with the Republican Commissioners Andy Myers and Vincent Morales, and together we will press forward with the common sense conservative agenda that serves all Fort Bend residents.
All right, that's Fort Bend County Judge KP George. All right, we got to take a quick commercial break here, but after that break, we're going to have a live interview here with a representative from Save Communities who's going to be joining us. Stay tuned. right, welcome back to Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. I am glad to be joined here now with Dr. Thelma Scott, the CEO and founder of Safe Communities. Welcome, welcome.
Yes.
And alongside her, we have JJ Williams and Jasmine Harrison, both students that have gone through that program. So thank you. All right, you guys have a huge milestone.
Yes.
So if people are not familiar with Safe Communities, what is the organization all about?
Our organization is all about sending high school kids to college and making sure our college kids stay in college.
Yeah, it's one thing to get there, right? But you got to keep them there for 4 years.
So we follow them throughout their college career.
Yeah, I love that. And now, how long have you been doing this? Because the milestone is one you shouldn't blink an eye at.
That's right. This is amazing. We are celebrating 25 years.
Clap it up. Yeah, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up.
25 years.
So in 25 years, let's talk about the program and how it's grown and changed, because year 1 and year 25 look very different.
Very different, because when we started, I was only helping kids with disabilities, right? And under that program was the Barbara Jordan program, which was sponsored and still sponsored by the late Barbara Jordan's sister. Now we do kindergarten through college. So these kids grow up in the program. We follow them throughout their college career. Doesn't matter how long it takes them to graduate college, Safe Communities is there.
Yeah. So what does the program entail exactly? From kindergarten to college, what are some of the things you're trying to instill in the kids?
We're trying to instill in the kids. One thing we do is the kids have to do an essay every month. That's the criteria. They do an essay of different awareness in the month. And we also teach them about mental health, youth hidden mental health. And that's every month, because a lot of the kids are dealing with mental health that you don't know. So we teach them how to recognize the signs. Because we've lost 2 kids to suicide in our program. We had one of the students last month that tried to commit suicide. So it's important that the students can understand youth hidden mental health. And it's very important as they go through life to understand that. And when these essays are, they get a chance to do an essay, whatever the awareness is, just like I'm a breast cancer survivor this year, second time. But they write an essay. What is breast cancer? What is it about, right? And they talk about that and coming through the program, getting them ready. Because when they get into college, they're going to have 10,000-word essays. So a 200-word essay every month is nothing. It's nothing.
So now we got JJ and Jasmine. You guys are both in the program. Just kind of introduce yourself and tell me how long you've been in the program and what it's done for you as an individual. JJ, you want to go first?
Sure. Hi, I'm JJ. I've been in the program pretty much all my life. And I mean, Safe Communities has just allowed me to, grow and flourish as like a writer. Because, yeah, like you were saying, when it gets to college, those essays are going to beat you. Yeah. But if you're not prepared, they're going to beat you even more. Yeah. But I've been prepared thanks to Safe Diversity and Safe Communities.
Right.
Yeah. That's You're getting the name wrong. I'm so
you're good.
sorry.
That's good.
Because we've recently changed names. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine, man. Listen, we're all good. And Jasmine,
good.
how has the program just kind of been for you, and how long you been involved with it?
So I've been in the program all my life as well, and also what he said too. The same thing. It's helped me with like college and stuff. Just getting ready for college with the essay and arts and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just getting ready for college and everything.
How has it been being able to have some of these conversations, you know what I mean, around mental health and I'm sure a lot of other issues, but has it been good for you guys to like have that open conversation with adults, with Safe Communities, and just how has it helped you?
It's helped a lot, actually. I have a lot of friends who have issues like dealing with their mental health, and before I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to help them, but over the years I've been in this, like the talks we've gone through, the resources that have been provided by Safe Communities have allowed me to help my friends out of these dark places. Yeah. And I mean, it's incredible. That's awesome. just what you can learn.
Yeah. And Thelma, we got to wrap up here, but what is it like for you to just even hear the kids speak that way about the program?
Well, it just touches my heart to know that they grow up in the program and know they can reach out and be able to be a lifesaver for another kid, right? That's dealing with mental health or having a bad day, and they have some words that they can share, because we share mental health every month. 12 months out of the year, we talk about youth hidden mental health, and also how the kids are going to deal with when they get to college, because remember, these kids are dealing with what we call anxiety and hidden mental health. So it's good that they know too what they're facing when they go off to college, and let them know that safe communities will be there. We got their backs.
I know that's right. All right, Ms. Thelma, JJ, Jasmine, thank you guys for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We've enjoyed today.
Thank you. All right, we'll be right back, you guys.
Thank you.
That's good. All right, welcome back to Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. Time now for the missing. So a family of a girl that disappeared right around the time she was supposed to graduate high school say they still are looking for any leads to hopefully bring her back home safely. Now, they have had some traction on social media trying to find out her whereabouts, but still they are very nervous, waiting on pins and needles, and they need your help. So here now is Fox 26's Denise Middleton with the latest edition of The Missing.
Gone without a trace.
It's just confusing and a mystery.
7 years and still no sign of Devine Tollett.
They were supposed to meet up for a family photo, and that was the very last time she talked to her.
Her aunt, Christy Davis, says Devine told her mother she'd be there, but was never seen or heard from again.
There was no issue. So it's still strange to us as to how she just up and gone.
Devine was 18 years old at the time and attended Westfield High School in Spring ISD. Her mom reported her missing April 1st, 2018. She called her friends, but they didn't have answers. Then she started getting tips from social media.
We learned a lot after her being missing. A lot of things that's coming out that apparently she has lived a lifestyle that my sister didn't even know about.
The family discovered she was an exotic dancer. Devine reportedly never came home after finishing her shift at work, leaving her family with overwhelming concern.
Sex trafficking, human trafficking, it's real out here. It's so real, and it has me worried for that.
There's currently a digital billboard with her photo to help generate leads in her case. But as time passes, her mother, who's too heartbroken to speak, fears she could be anywhere.
She has like real bad anxiety, like real panic attacks about it. It's been heartbreaking It's been really heartbreaking, especially since I can't physically be there for her. If anybody know anything, please go to the police, please, because my sister is not going to rest until she finds her child.
Yeah, hopefully they have some leads here to bring that little girl, that young lady back home. All right, the Periwinkle Foundation is putting on a summer camp. It's going on as we speak, but it's for children currently being treated or who were previously treated at Texas Children's Cancer and Hematology Center. And Doug, joining us now to talk about it is Doug Suggett with the foundation, joining us to talk more. Now, if someone at home not familiar with the foundation at all, just kind of give us a lay of the land. What is it about and the mission behind it?
Yeah, the Periwinkle Foundation is a true community of healing. It started 43 years ago as a single week-long summer camp for children living with cancer, and it's turned into an organization that provides now a year-round series of camps, arts, and survivor programs benefiting over 14,000 children, teens, and families annually. So Dr. Paul Gerson, he was our founder, Dr. of Radiology at Texas Children's, was walking the Cancer Center floor at Texas Children's 43 years ago, and he had heard of a camp called Camp Hole in the Wall up in New York, put on Paul Newman. And Paul said, well, if they can do a camp in New York, we can do one bigger in Texas. So they loaded up about 50 kids, took them out to camp. They had the time of their lives. What most importantly has happened is when they got back from camp, the doctors, the nurses, and so forth noticed the change in the kids' optimism about life and living and treatment. And that signature camp, Camp Periwinkle, is going 43 years strong now. So
That's
it's one
amazing,
of
man.
7 amazing camps that really help out patients and families, along with numerous arts and medicine programs that take place 365 days a year.
Can you just talk about the importance of that? Because I think access to summer camps and programs like that for kids who are being treated or have previously been treated for cancer, that might be hard to come by. So this is truly an asset in our community.
Yeah, it's a true asset, and we're privileged. Texas Children's Hospital considers us part of their team. As a matter of fact, a number of the doctors and nurses and medical staff say you can't just heal the disease itself. You have to heal the whole child, and that's the social and emotional well-being of the child. And that's where these programs come in. They give these kids a chance to make decisions on their own, to live life on their own, to try different things, and it just tremendously makes a big difference in their lives.
Yeah, and I see us looking at some video now. I would imagine this is from some of the camps, some of the activities they do. Let's talk about some of the events that the kids take part in over the course of the summer camp.
Yeah, so day camp is going on right now at St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church. The kids just got back from the Houston Zoo, which they had a tremendous time today. They've got a number of other activities, big rock walls, carnival days, water days on Fridays, a super exciting day. And it's a special time for these kids to just bond and connect with each other. One unique thing about all the camps that we provide throughout the year is the child gets to bring a sibling, because a lot of times a sibling doesn't understand why the one child is getting all the attention. So they meet other kids that are in the same situation, and they develop bonds too that help them through their cancer journey. So it's
I love that.
Lots of tremendous activities happening.
Love that, love that, love that. And also fundraisers, I would imagine, a huge part of making sure these kids have these experiences. Do you guys have any fundraisers coming up, and how can people get involved?
Yeah, we sure do. Fundraising's the heart and soul of what makes Periwinkle happen. All of these programs are free of charge to the patients and families that we serve. Previous board members said it best: these kids have paid a pretty steep price for admission, meaning their cancer diagnosis. So it's up us to raise money to make it happen. So if you're into spirits, we've got Iron Bartender taking place right now. We've got Iron Sommelier presented by Court Energy coming up in November. Golf tournaments, an inaugural walk at Levy Park there in Bel Air. It's presented by Mogus, a Flowserve company. And just all types of ways to get involved to support the programs that we do, because they are 100% free of charge to the patients and families that we serve.
I am blown away. Truth be told, I was unaware of the program until I started kind of researching for today's show, and I'm blown away by what you guys are doing here. This is incredible. Truly.
Well, we're grateful for your support and helping us get the word out, and more kids will have access to our programs thanks to y'all.
All right. Thank you so much, Doug, and please come back if you guys have anything else going on. I want to make sure we get that information out to the people.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. All right, welcome back to Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. Time now, 2:50 here this Wednesday. Well, tomorrow, June 19th, is Juneteenth down across the country, but the birthplace right around here in Galveston. The city's going to come alive here tomorrow for some free community events, and make sure you try to find an event near you too. Like, events are happening all across the country. But the celebration is going to honor 160 years of Black freedom, and it's being made possible by Nia's Daughters movement and elevated experiences down there in Galveston. Here now to talk more about it is Stacey Allen, the founder, and Brittany Woodard.
So, of course, we know the significance of Galveston and Juneteenth as a whole, but for many of our viewers who may not be aware, can you explain how significant Galveston and Juneteenth are, of course, together?
Yes, so Galveston is the birthplace of Juneteenth, and this year we're celebrating 160 years. So 160 years ago, which is actually a year and a half after the Emancipation, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, General Order 3 was set on the island of Galveston, and that is the thing that helped everyone in the Texas area know that freedom was here. So that is why we are urging people to come back to the birthplace of where Juneteenth began.
Well, tell us a little bit about Nia's Daughters movement.
So Nia's Daughters Movement Collective is a professional dance company. We got started in 2018, and a lot of our work right now has to do with African American history, particularly in Texas. Mm-hmm. We've had the opportunity to do lots of stories surrounding Texas freedom colonies and other stories that we know need to be amplified about African American history.
So what's going on this tomorrow and throughout the weekend?
So tomorrow we'll actually be at the Juneteenth headquarters, which is Neo Cultural Center, and we're going to do a two-part event that has both not just celebration but also education. You can also learn about Juneteenth in part one at Neo Cultural Center and meet the founder, Ms. Sue. And then part two is more of the immersive storytelling, see Nia's Daughters Movement Collective dance, and also live DJ sets and more of the celebratory side.
And what's it been like getting this all together, getting the celebrations together and having them come to life?
It has been such a beautiful experience. Of course, we had to get together all the logistics, but it has been so great to just see the outpouring of love and support we've had from community partners, because people are really interested in celebrating Juneteenth on Galveston Island. So we are honored to be able to steward this process for people to return, the official Juneteenth returning back to its roots.
I know you're saying you're honored. How does it feel to be able to steward this and celebrate Juneteenth?
It's been really exciting, if I'm being honest, especially knowing that we have people that's coming from out of town, outside of Texas to this event. A lot of people want to explore Galveston, learn about Juneteenth, and actually return and celebrate with this. So us being able to do this, honestly, even at the headquarters of Juneteenth, has just been amazing feeling.
All right, well, we're in for a special treat this morning because we're getting a little taste of what you can experience later this weekend. So tell us about your dancers.
So we have Nia's Daughters Movement Collective. We'll be having a piece performed by Genesis and Tabarak. And this piece is actually a section from one of our shows called The Fairy Tale Project that tells the story of Jim and Winnie Shankel, the founders of the Texas Freedom Colony Shankleville. And this is the moment where they find each other after being separated by slavery.
Before we bring them up, can we remind viewers one more time of the time and details of the event?
Yes. Absolutely. So tomorrow you'll be able to see Nia's Daughters Movement Collective at Nia Cultural Center tomorrow, 2217 The Strand, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Please join us.
All right, we will enjoy these ladies' performance now.
Y'all better go ahead now with the Alvin Ailey little ballet. I'm not mad at that one bit. And make sure you guys, again, tomorrow is Juneteenth. Hopefully you guys can find an event taking place near you to celebrate. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come right back. right, welcome back to Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on the stream or wherever you're watching. We certainly appreciate it. Well, let's give you a quick look at what we're going to talk about here over the next half hour or so. So we got to talk about the weather. We got some hotter weather that's going to be heading our way, but it's also a growing concern for the homeless community. You know it's Houston, Texas. You know how hot it's going to get here as we progress later on into the summer months. So we're going to give you guys some opportunities here to look out for those who are less fortunate. Also, we're going to hear an exchange today from Senator Elizabeth Warren as she went after Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and also Toro, who is our guy, the mascot over there for the Houston Texans. My boy is in the Hall of Fame. So we're going to see, I'm about to say we're going to hear from Toro, but, that's not possible. So we'll give you guys an update on Toro as well. But anyway, let's get started here this afternoon and jump right in. We got meteorologist Ramisha Shade. We're having a little bit of difficulty here, Ramisha, behind the scenes trying to get them graphics together. But, we're going to do what it do. Give you guys
exactly. You're going to get your weather regardless.
Regardless, period.
One way or the other. So we know that it is hot outside. That is the big story. Of course, for about a week or so, it was about all of the heavy downpours, lots of flash flood warnings. So, yeah, it is so nice.
Oh, yeah.
To see some sunshine.
Of course, good old Houston traffic.
Exactly. You got the Shell Station, you got the Dillards, where I like to go ice skate to the right of that.
I didn't know you were so talented, by the way, being able to ice skate over at the gallery.
Yeah, actually, I hadn't been in a while, and I went a couple of times recently. It's like, okay, I've got to get back into this. I need to get back into some classes because I miss it. But
you're good.
Yeah, you can see those cumulus clouds building out there, and we're going to have basically a chance for a few heavy downpours, but not expecting anything widespread. So it's basically going to be isolated activity as far as that rainfall is concerned. So that is certainly some good news for us. We do have a lot of hot temperatures out there, though. We got temperatures for most inland spots in the 90s right now, and we are expecting those feels like temps or heat index values to be into the triple digits, really anywhere from 100 to 105. So you certainly need to make sure that you are taking the heat seriously. We've gotten rid of most of the rain, but now you need to start thinking about what you need to do to stay safe out in this heat. And what is that? Well, wearing that lightweight, light-fitting, loose clothing out there will help you a little bit. Of course, staying hydrated. If you have to work outside, try to find the shaded spots when you take those breaks. Even when you're working, if you can work in the shade, hey, there's the best place to be because it is certainly going to be on the uncomfortable side out there. So we will continue with likely temperatures in the 90s as we go through the next several days. Not really seeing any triple digits in the forecast right now, but you will have to worry about temps in the 90s, and you'll also have to worry about at least a few heavy downpours. So right now, we're not expecting any major rainfall for today. As we go into tomorrow, which is Juneteenth, we are going to have a better shot for some rain. So rain chances will go from about 20% to 40%, but it's still not going to be as bad as it was over the last 7-8 days. 91 degrees in Houston right now. That feels like temp at 102. We do have a nice strong breeze, wind out of the south at 18 miles per hour. Temperatures, as I mentioned, farther inland, mainly in the 90s. Now I'm looking at Tomball. I don't know. There may be something wrong with that reading. I don't think Tomball is. Tomball is at 104. So yeah, I'm not gonna trust that. But I do believe it's 94 at Bush Airport, 91 at Hobby Airport, and upper 80s right along the coast. But yes, something fishy is something's going on with that Tomball.
Something's
reading.
Broken, maybe.
Something's a little broken. So we'll have to look into that. But yeah, I hope it's not 104. All right, let's talk about the next few days. We've got more heat on the way. Like I said, rain chances will go up. They'll actually kind of double for tomorrow. 20% today, 40% for Thursday, and back down to 20% for Friday. So you see the nice little icy on the picture there. Go get your favorite icy yogurt, drink your water, do what you can to keep cool, because it is that time of the year. We are just about there, Anthony. You've probably been thinking it's been summer for the last month. But it hasn't. Summer officially beginning this Friday evening, 9:42 p.m. summer solstice. So this Friday will end up being the longest day of the year, shortest night. And of course, after that, the days will start getting a little bit shorter day by day until they get super short as we get close to the holidays. All right, weekend preview, isolated rain for Saturday, and then Sunday, those rain and storm chances going back up. So if you're trying to schedule pool time, you want to take a dip, you want to go for a full-fledged swim, Between the 2 days this weekend, Saturday will be your best shot to get out there without having to worry about a lot of heavy rain and lightning. Isolated rain Saturday, but spotty showers and storms will build back in on Sunday, and it's going to be on the hot side for both days. So we're dealing with the potential for up and down rain chances. That's likely what it's going to be for the next week. 40% for your Thursday, 20% for Friday, first official day of summer. This weekend, the first weekend of summer, you'll see that there will be less rain on Saturday, more rain on Sunday, and then scattered storms in the area for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So just when you think we've gotten rid of this rain for a while, look at that. It's coming back. So I don't know.
It is,
a little good, a little bad.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
At least it's not a foot of rain.
Would you say this is like uncommon for June with the amount of rain we're getting, like this
Well, no,
week?
typically June is a fairly wet month for us, but as we get farther into the summer season, we usually start to dry things out, unless we get a hurricane, of course. But I'm not trying to speak that into existence. That's right. Don't say it. There's power in what you say.
Right.
Okay, I'll take it back. No hurricane.
All right, Nish.
No
Always a
more
pleasure.
barrels or anything else.
I know that's right. Listen, and if something's going on, she's got it. If we're watching something
I'm
brewing
gonna
in
try
the
to
tropics,
push it away. But if I can't do that, I will inform you at least.
All right, Ramisha Shade, as always, love having you. Thank you so much for
All
joining
right.
me. All right, let's head now to Washington, D.C., where there is a hearing happening about the potential cover-up of former President Biden's cognitive decline. Let's listen in to one of the witnesses at today's proceedings.
Professor Harrison, I do want to ask a couple questions. I just want you to presume for a moment that that a pardon was issued under President Biden's auto pen signature, but issued without his direction. It comes to light that that he actually didn't direct it. A member of his staff used the auto pen for a pardon. What recourse is available under those circumstances?
Well, Senator, I think there would be two questions. The first has to do with whether, and I can't answer it other than to identify the question, which is to say sometimes documents that are properly authenticated are treated as having been validly issued even when they're not. That can happen. There are legal rules that produce that result, and I don't think there is such a rule about a pardon, but I would have to inquire into that again because there are such rules. The other thing I'd say is that for a pardon particularly, the only situation I can think of that clearly would bring into question whether the pardon was valid, which was the first question, was if the government sought to prosecute someone and the person who purportedly received the pardon offered the pardon as a defense, then the government might say that no, the pardon was invalid and therefore you weren't pardoned, you're still subject to prosecution. There might be some other way for a question like that about a pardon to come up. I can't think of another, but that's the one I can think of.
All right. Now, back here locally, Fort Bend County Judge K.P. George, he had a press conference today to make a huge announcement. Once a Democrat, now a Republican. Joining us now, Fox 26 reporter and host of What's Your Point, Greg Grugan. Talk about the move, man, from one party to the next.
First things first, gotta say Fox 26 was the first and only media source to predict this development well before it happened. Now, look, everybody has been hearing about Judge George's problems. He's facing multiple criminal indictments from race baiting, online impersonation, or at least being a part of that, to political money laundering. He says he's being victimized by Democrats who are making a power grab. Today he announced not only a political divorce, but also a new political home. Let's have a listen.
As I make the all-important announcement that I am officially joining the Republican Party, for the past few years has become very clear to me, and also many others, that Democratic Party has become one of corrupt and radical political ideology and positions that simply do not reflect the values of Fort Bend County families and small businesses, also hardworking residents of Fort Bend County. I have always believed in foundational American principles of faith, family, and freedom. And I realized that the Republican Party that champions these values, I am not backing down, and I will not, because I haven't done anything wrong. Like President Trump, I will stand up and fight against the radical leftists who seek to tear down the values we hold very close to our heart. Radicals like our Fort Bend County District Attorney, who has been brought and paid by the notorious George Soros, who funded the campaign. When Fort Bend County District Attorney and his fellow liberal elites realized I wasn't going to fall in line with their increasingly radical agenda, this is the solution they found: kick me out of there. If they can come after me and people like me, and every citizen in Fort Bend County should be scared. I choose a side, and it turned out to be the wrong place, and I'm fixing it, and that's what I'm doing today. We will press forward with the common sense conservative agenda that serves all Fort Bend residents.
You just go ahead and take it.
Yeah, all right. So I got to follow up here. So in that press conference, he said the Democrats were corrupt and radical.
Right.
With his, charges that he's currently facing. The Republican Party, why would that be beneficial to have KP George come on their side? Is it the enemy of my enemy is my friend? What's the positioning there?
Anthony, it's about deliverables. Look, with KP George shifting to the Republicans, they have a 3-2 advantage on Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court. First order of business, redrawing the political boundaries so that they're more fair, and they'll probably be more fair to Republicans. That's a deliverable. He's still the county judge of Fort Bend County. And so, look, George says he is definitely running for re-election, and he's going to run as a Republican. Will he be accepted by Republicans in Fort Bend County? If we're looking at social media, there's a lot of pushback, but maybe he can earn their respect.
I imagine this is a topic of discussion on What's Your Point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can count on that.
All right, Greg. Thanks a lot, my man. Appreciate that. All right, back to D.C. here. We got Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's on Capitol Hill. He had a bit of an exchange today with Senator Elizabeth Warren over the National Guard and those ICE protests taking place. Let's take a listen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So President Trump has deployed the National Guard and then the U.S. Marines to Los Angeles over the objections of state and local officials, saying that the troops are needed to support immigration detention operations that are being carried out by ICE. On Sunday night, the president threatened to deploy ICE agents to other cities around the country that he sees as, quote, the core of the Democrat power center, end quote, specifically mentioning Chicago and New York. Secretary Hegseth, if the president wanted to deploy Marines to Chicago and New York City like he did in Los Angeles, would you carry out that order even if the local governors and mayors objected?
Well, Senator, because Governor Newsom was unwilling to address
that's not
protecting
my question.
federal law enforcement agents in Los Angeles, President Trump had all the authorities, and the Defense Department happily supported defending our ICE agents in the conduct of their job. They have the right as Americans to be able to do their job without being attacked by mobs. And we will protect them in that process. And if other states needed it, we would provide that.
I know that you heard my question. So you would be willing to send troops if the president ordered it to Chicago, New York City? That's right.
Well, thankfully, New York City, unlike California, unlike Gavin Newsom, is willing to step up and address the issue with their local law
I will
enforcement.
take that as a yes. How about if the president says he wants to send troops to 15 cities? Would you be willing to do that?
Senator, I don't accept your hypothetical because it's
That's a hypothetical.
Not a real
That's
one.
the question. You're the Secretary of Defense. Would you send troops to 15 cities if the president said do it? Would you do it? 15 cities.
Again, Senator, it's a complete hypothetical lacking any context at all.
You're the Secretary
and I refuse
of
to box
Defense.
myself in based on
You can
questioning on a
refuse,
hypothetical.
But you're here asking for $1 trillion, and I want to know how you're going to spend it.
All right. Again, Elizabeth Warren, Pete Hegseth going back and forth there on the discussion about ICE, those protests that are taking place and what he will or won't do. But On the topic of ICE, we've seen those protests taking place all across the country, also happening here in Houston as well. Joining me now is Fox 26 reporter Jonathan Mejia with another interesting story here that as we see this whole thing play out with ICE.
Yeah, you know, what's happening across the countries in terms of protests and rally, it's in a response to what we're seeing the federal government do, as well as what the Trump administration is doing. So we heard all these stories across the countries where a lot of immigrants are going to their immigration court hearings to have their asylum cases play out, but many of them are being dismissed. And upon them having their case dismissed, they are met with ICE agents outside of their court hearings, and most of them get detained and get arrested. So I spoke to a man who had his court hearings here in Houston, and he was able to have his case denied. So different from dismissed, right? So we're seeing across the country a lot of people getting their cases dismissed, but his was denied. So that meant that he had a right to an appeal. So his immigration attorneys filed an appeal. They were able to stop that detention that after he was arrested briefly by ICE. And he just talks about how impacting that was for his family to just see and how they're living every day in fear. You know, he says he's the sole breadwinner of his family. He has 3 kids that were born here in the United States. They're all in school. His wife isn't working. She's a stay-at-home wife. So it would have been very devastating if he was to be deported back to Mexico. And he's living in fear, so he asked us to conceal his identity. We respected that request, but it's difficult situations we're seeing across the country in terms of what's playing out in immigration court hearings.
Denied versus dismissed. I think that's a really, we got to lock that down here, because that makes a big difference.
Right. So in previous administrations, having your case dismissed was a little bit of a positive thing, right? Because that meant although your asylum case, it wasn't approved or denied, but it was dismissed, meaning the courts or that judge, may have thought you were a lower risk. So they dismissed that, and that still meant that you had to find other avenues to find a legal pathway to remain here in the United States. So dismissed doesn't mean that you get approved or denied. It just means that case was tossed out, but you still have the responsibility to find a way to stay here legally. Now, in this case, he was denied. One of his applications were denied, meaning that the judge didn't see his need, his asylum claim. But of course, he can appeal that decision. So there's, that distinction between dismissal and being approved or denied.
All right. Jonathan Mejia, thank you so much. And we'll see more of that story at 5 and 6 today.
Correct.
All right, my man. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so the Star of Hope, a really important organization here. And with the hot summer months ahead, there are some big concerns for some folks here. So the CEO of the Star of Hope was on Houston's Morning Show.
Any plans to help those who are unhoused currently living on the streets in this extreme heat?
Well, Star of Hope, of course, has a long history here in Houston. Tonight, we had 950 people in our care. And specifically during the summer, we have a concern for dehydration and obviously extreme temperatures as they arrive here in Houston. So we're looking for donations for water, of course, amongst the many other things that we can always use here at Star of Hope. We provide that water obviously to the people in our care, but also to folks generally who find themselves in homelessness across our great city. You can donate water to our location here at Reed Road and also our distribution center up in Edo. Yeah, we've always got a use for your donations, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a lot. Does it ever get a little overwhelming for you all to try to help everyone? And then talk about some of the resources that are available.
Well, I always like to say that the great city of Houston has many providers who help the homeless. We do a pretty good job of caring for the homeless overall as a city, and I think it's important that we say that. Nevertheless, Houston does have a homeless problem and an unhoused problem. There are many agencies around the city that help. We in Star of Hope tend to care for those who are chronically homeless, who find themselves, who've been without a home for a period of time, and we take them into our care and offer them not just shelter here, but also food, nutrition, counseling, mental health counseling, a whole range of services at the facilities that we operate.
In terms of dehydration being obviously that's a big issue in this heat for sure. What are some things you'll be offering and providing these individuals?
So we provide care packets that include water, but also some basic nutritional products, some basic food products. We distribute them to folks around our city, and we also obviously do that for the people within our care here at the various Star of Hope locations around the city.
And specifically anything you may need help with, any donations and anything like that too?
Well, seasonally, water is a big deal at this point of and going through the summer. But Star of Hope is, I feel like, a 24/7 operation. Summertime is more focused on water. Wintertime, as it gets cooler, obviously we think about blankets and clothes and things like that. But obviously there's a whole range of things that we can that we will take from the public. They're on our website, sohmission.org. Here in Houston, and yeah, you can get to us here at Reed Road, as I mentioned, and also our distribution center up in Edo.
All right, I'm sure you probably need some volunteers too to help out. We appreciate your time.
All right, we'll be right back with more Houston Live and Local. I will eventually, but welcome back to Houston Live and Local. I am Anthony Antoine. Welcome back here. We are following some breaking news on a couple of different fronts here, including the Karen Reed verdict now. After the retrial, we now know that she was found not guilty. So we'll continue to bring you some updates on that, but she was found guilty of drunk driving. So not guilty on the more serious charges, but was found guilty of drunk driving in that the killing of a police officer who was her boyfriend at the time. So we'll get to that in a second, but more breaking news here. Let's look at the Wall Street here, the New York Stock Exchange. So earlier today, we found out that the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, was not going to cut interest rates. And you can see the stock exchange here reacting to the news. You can see a lot of red there. It's been peaking up and down, but now we see a drop in the New York Stock Exchange here. So we're going to monitor that. But the thing is here, it is possible we can see 2 more rate cuts this year. But as of right now, that is where things stand. All right. So you guys did it. You know, Houston, Texas, and Southeast Texas as a whole. Toro has now been inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame. The Texans mascot is one of 5 receiving this honor. Andrew Johnson stopped by the Fox 26 studios a little earlier today.
Here he is.
It's a party.
Andrew, see. I had to prepare myself.
Holy moly.
We have Andrew Johnson here with Toro. You so fly this morning. Congratulations to you, brother.
You're blinding me with that ring and that jacket, Toro.
Right. It says a whole lot by not saying nothing at all. And Andrew Johnson, obviously, we know Toro is one of 5 mascots who was inducted into the Hall of Fame. First of all, congratulations to him. What are some things that Toro has accomplished that allowed him to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, man, we're so proud and excited to celebrate the fact that Toro was inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame this year. Toro's known for his crazy stunts he pulls at all the Texans games, keeping fans on the edge of their seats at every Texans home game. He's known for his pranks on social media. He's the 3rd most followed professional sports mascot in the United States. And he's also known for his community efforts. So he's got bullying as kind of his core topic. He's got an assembly program. He goes all over Houston, encouraging kids not to bully and to teach them what to do if they're being bullied. Wrote a children's book. And so we're really proud of what Toro's accomplished and excited to celebrate that honor this season.
We want to see that ice real quick. Can you turn right to the other camera, the other one, this one right here. Yep, they're going to get a good look at it real quick. What the response from players, what has that been like?
Man, I mean, the whole organization from top down has been super supportive, and Toro wouldn't be able to be where he is today if it wasn't for their support from the McNair family to leadership to all the football players. They've all been very complimentary and excited to celebrate the accomplishment.
Especially the ones that he plays the tricks on. We saw the video, obviously, with him and C.J. Stroud just recently and stuff like that as well. So I know
he's always got to crank up his
him.
sleeve.
So he'll be honored at a home game later this season, too?
That's right. We've got a halftime show where we're going to honor this accomplishment. And we've got some other fun things to celebrate the achievement this season as well.
Obviously, he's in good company because we know Astros Orbit and Rockets Clutch as well. They've all been inducted as well, too.
Exactly, yeah. So he's in good company. Houston is the mascot city.
We appreciate you.
We've got some great mascots in this city, and we're really proud to be a part of it.
So apparently he got more votes than any other nominee, too, as well?
That's exactly right. In order to be inducted into the Mascot Hall of Fame, there's kind of 2 pieces to it. There's the fan vote, which Houston was a huge supporter of our campaign. They were voting for Toro each and every day. And so we had the highest number of public votes. And then there's an executive committee. And Toro had the highest level of the executive committee vote as well. And so between those 2 things, Toro was one of the top candidates for.
Stop playing with him. Toro is that guy. All right. Or gal. We don't know who's in there. But either way, thank you guys so much for joining me on Houston Live and Local. I'm Anthony Antoine. Stay tuned. Caroline and Rashi coming up next here on The Stream.